Ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant good afternoon. On behalf of the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I wish to express appreciation and thanks to the government and people of Colombia and the UNISDR for your warm welcome and hospitality to the sixth session of the Regional Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction for Community Resilience. St. Vincent and the Grenadines reaffirms its continued commitment to reducing disaster risk and losses. In recognition of the foregoing, my government saw the wisdom in making significant investments in the area of disaster risk management and climate change adaptation. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Country Program for Disaster Risk Reduction and Climate Change therefore incorporates a Sendai framework and our own regional comprehensive disaster management strategy, building country and community resilience. As the minister with the responsibility for community development, we have long recognized that the community is the first to be impacted from hazards, the first to respond and more likely to be the last to be reached when there is a disaster. We must therefore embark on strengthening communities to be self-sufficient and build their resilience. To this end, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has embarked on several initiatives aimed at strengthening community resilience. 1. Integrated development community planning. This will be community-driven, as we cannot build community resilience without the community. This will also address some of the demographic and data gaps which often present one of the main challenges on reporting on international frameworks. This initiative will further develop community profiles, identify hazards facing community, and implement programs to reduce disaster risk. Secondly, in March of this year, in collaboration with the Seismic Research Center of the University of the West Indies, St. Vincent and the Grenadines launched the Volcano Ready Communities Project. This, I was told, is the first of its kind in the region and in the world. This initiative is centered around 12 communities located near to our La Soufrière volcano and seek to increase the knowledge of volcano risk, training of community response teams, community hazard mapping, and empowering the community members and leaders to take charge of their own community before, during, and after the impact of a hazard. We hope this project will be a model that many countries who are living with live volcanoes can adopt. And so to this end, I take the opportunity to extend my country's sympathy to the government and people of Guatemala on the recent eruptions of their volcano and express condolences to the families that have lost loved ones. Thirdly, to ensure our communities have the necessary tools to manage and respond to emergencies, our government has already completed 2 of 6 satellite warehouses that are built in some of the more vulnerable communities. These warehouses, Mr. Chairman, are outfitted with basic tools and supplies that will allow the communities to respond in a timely manner once they are cut off or isolated, as in the nature of a volcanic island with steep topography and islands separated with the Atlantic Ocean. Disaster finance. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has established and passed into law the Climate Resilience Levy Act, which is a disaster contingency fund which will allow us to meet the immediate needs post-disaster and to contribute to our short and medium-term recovery programs. This fund supports priority 3 of the Sendai framework, investing in disaster risk reduction for resilience. This builds on existing initiatives that have been undertaken over the years through major development projects, which are aimed at building back better through the designing of our roads and bridges, retrofitting of emergency shelters, strengthening school safety programs, incorporating disaster risk reduction and climate change into our schools' curriculums, and strengthening our forecasting for hydrometeorological hazards, addressing our gaps and challenges of the Sendai frameworks. One of the challenges we have encountered in applying the indicators of the Sendai framework is in having the prerequisite baseline data to make informed decisions and responses. The Disaster Office, the Statistical Office, and the relevant key agencies have already identified these gaps and are now ensuring that data needed for assessments and reporting on the Sendai framework are augmented and can be used to inform our reporting. Strengthening our early warning systems is also one of our main priorities in 2018. We have already undertaken national and community consultations to identify the gaps in our national early warning system, especially at the community level. With the continued support from our international and regional agencies such as SEDIMA, UNDP, and the government of Cuba, we will be addressing some of these gaps with the aim of strengthening our emergency warning protocols and dissemination of information to all, especially some of our more vulnerable populations. In conclusion, St. Vincent and the Grenadines remains committed to the Sustainable Development Goals and will continue to work to see the fulfillment or near fulfillment of the same. Let me once again thank you on behalf of the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for hosting our delegation at this very important meeting, and we look forward to sharing with you over the next 2 days. I wish a productive meeting. I thank you.